Hi everyone, I'm Darren, Registration and Event Coordinator for the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police. Our friends at Serving with Pride have challenged us to light up our social media with pride for the month of June for the First Responders Pride Month Challenge, and we accept the challenge. Over the course of the month, I will be speaking with various LGBTQ2S officers and allies and sharing their stories. So today I have the pleasure of speaking with Sergeant Kelly Mason of the Ontario Provincial Police. Hi, Sergeant. Happy Pride. How are you?
I'm well, Darren. Thanks very much. Happy Pride to you as well.
Thank you. And thank you for taking the time out of your day to speak with me today. Sergeant, why don't we begin by having you tell us a little bit about yourself, like how long you've been in policing and what you are currently doing in your current role.
Well, I've been with the OPP. I'm in my 26th year, and currently I'm part of the administrative command team for Northumberland Detachment. We're a 3 detachment cluster, and I oversee the daily operations of 2 of those locations. So I travel between 2 sites. I have some other specific duties that go along with the management of the buildings, the property vaults. And then on top of that, I deal with the public as well. Daily we get walk-in and telephone inquiries, but I also assist the shifts when I'm working as another police officer. So I still do basic core policing functions when I can and when needed. And then in addition to that, I like to get out and do other community-related activities. I'm a bicycle officer, so I will get out mostly to get a chance to get out of the office and wear a pair of shorts and then ride the bikes out in our communities so you can actually have face-to-face conversations with people. Riding a bike generates conversation in and of itself because it's a little different.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you're very busy, it seems.
I'm fairly busy.
My first question for you would be, what inspired you to become a police officer?
Well, I'm one of those people that wanted to be a police officer from the time I could walk and talk. I have no idea really why. It was as much a part of me as breathing. It was a goal from kindergarten on up, and I never deviated from that. And I did everything I needed to do at the time frame to be successful, and I have no regrets.
Excellent. My second question for you would be, what has your experience been like being an open LGBTQ2S officer?
For me personally, I've had a very positive experience. I joined the organization in January of 1995. I've always been open. In fact, so I'm in my 26th year with the OPP, but I'm approaching my 30th year of marriage. So I've been with the same wonderful woman for that whole time frame. We have 2 boys. Our kids were the same age as many others. We all had the same life issues. We were just another family. And I was somewhat surprised from the very beginning that I was really very supported and accepted. I always was very involved with the community within my work family. I maintained many of those friendships that time frame as we're now all approaching our retirement years, and have gone through many ups and downs with all those folks. So I did move around throughout my career into some different units where the personalities can become a little more challenging, and anything that is a little outside of the norm. There was the odd negative connotation or suggestion, but it wasn't ever going to be anything that dragged me down, and I never came to work being anything but a hardworking person. And part of that might be just being female in a very male-dominated occupation as well, right? I was going to come to work and I was going to do my job and I was going to do it well, and you were going to see I was going to do it well, in spite of any biases or prejudices that someone may hold.
So that kind of segues me into my third question. You kind of touched on it a little bit there. The question would be, if any, what would you say has been your biggest challenge as being an LGBTQ2S officer?
Again, the biggest challenge would be the odd individual that felt that you weren't worthy. it wasn't necessarily so much from my peers. It is a rank structured organization. I know that I've worked with different people over the years who were superior to me, who were perhaps uncomfortable with my sexuality, and for them that was an issue. It wasn't for me. Um, and I can surmise that there may have been times that it may have prevented me from achieving something at that time. I was just determined enough to then find another route and find something else. I didn't give it enough attention or care to ever let it stand in my way. And if it was and I never really had that full-on confrontation. In many ways, I think for women, it's easier than it is for a gay man in the organization. I do believe that we don't run into the locker room issues. It's not, you don't have that same guy to guy kind of competitiveness that goes on. It was easier if a conversation was going on or something was going on that I didn't care for, I would just walk away from it. But I've had very, very strong friends wherever I've gone and wherever I've worked, and without realizing it, a lot of those individuals had my back more or less. If somebody had made a comment when I wasn't around, I know other individuals had shut that down right then and there. So I was very fortunate.
That's great. I can kind of relate in the sense I'm a gay male myself, and I think a lot of, for me, issues was kind of finding that confidence in myself to really be who I am. I've struggled with that over the years, and especially in my current role here with the OACP. I found for myself that the more that I've come into my own, and the confidence that I exude, I find that the greater respect that I get back as an individual. My fourth question for you would be, if you could give one piece of advice to an LGBTQS individual that is potentially considering a career in law enforcement, and what would it be?
Well, it would be to go after your goal and don't let anything stand in your way. I wouldn't just assume that people are going to treat you unfairly or badly. If anything, I've learned there are a lot of very accepting and decent people out there who just want to be around good people. I know that many of those individuals whom I'm friends with, they've probably changed their attitude a little bit towards the LGBTQ 2+ community over time, because they know me. They know my spouse. They know our boys. We're grandmothers now. They know our families. They've been to our home. We're all the same. And as I say, over time, I find that breeds loyalty on a level that's really quite amazing. And so if anybody's having hesitation, if they would have those good core friendships, just be who you are. People will always treat you fairly and treat you well when they feel that you're upfront with them and you're just trying to do the right thing. So I would absolutely encourage anybody that wants to go into policing to not be discouraged at all. But if they were really unsure about it, there are many officers now who are open and would be quite happy to sit down and have those confidence-inspiring conversations.
And that's partly why I'm conducting these interviews, is just to kind of give a thanks to LGBT officers for the month of Pride, and obviously in response to the Serving with Pride Challenge. So hopefully maybe there is somebody out there that maybe hesitant or have some sort of fear on becoming a police officer, and they get to see wonderful people like you and hear your story, and hopefully encourage them to consider a career in policing.
Over the years of my career, pride was never much of a thing. It really, in my world, has only become a pretty big thing in maybe about the last 10 years at the most. I mean, the pride in of itself was, but I work in small communities and small municipalities. That was always a big city, Toronto kind of thing. I spent a number of years in our VIP protection section and had the honor and the privilege to work on the protective details for both the Premier and the Lieutenant Governor, particularly when it was Premier Wynne during that time frame, and very involved in the communities, which also meant I was very privileged to be front and center listening to a lot of people give very heartfelt speeches and explanations of where they had come from and what all these events meant to them. And I will say, when I look at the beginning of my career, yep, I was a gay officer, but it was just another part of me. It was just another thing. It wasn't the thing. And it wasn't anything celebrated. It wasn't anything negative. But in this time frame where I'm coming in towards the end of my career, here we are, we have a month where we're celebrating. We just raised the flags at every OPP detachment across the province for the first time in my career. That was very moving. The number of officers that came down to stand with me while we raised that flag, very, very moving moment. So I see a lot of positivity coming out that I never would have expected. So I've been very privileged to be in a unique position to watch some of our leaders who are open work through that. And that I probably at this point in time has given me confidence as a senior officer as well. Well, at this point in time, we've already had a premier who was openly gay. What's another one? I just happen to be in policing. It almost feels like an old story now.
Yeah.
Which is very comforting in and of itself.
That's really nice. I have been spending a lot of time during this pandemic up in Huntsville, kind of working remotely, and I drove past the Huntsville OPP detachment a few weeks ago and had noticed the pride flag flying there, and I was quite impressed to see that. So
yeah, we've been very involved. We've been unfortunately with this time frame in a pandemic trying to do things, we have our local pride groups who again are also very supportive of the police. So we're enjoying a privilege many other areas are not, and they wanted us to be part of their celebrations. So we have had our own little pride party in the parking lot to be part of a virtual pride parade within our county. And so we are receiving a lot of the respect and a lot of the positive feedback. Again, it's a much different tone from what you do see in the media. We've had incredible positive feedback from our communities. Many of our communities around the detachment, or pardon me, many of our neighbors around our detachment is located within the town, are flying a pride flag. I'd never seen that before. It's very different. And kind of fun.
My final question to you would be, what does pride in policing mean to you?
Pride in policing to me means, obviously this is a personal opinion, not segregating. I really find it unfortunate that is what is happening very much these days. We're in some very, very challenging times. I hope that makes us as police officers better in the long run as we really work to try to build those relationships with our communities even stronger. But I do see it as something that is very, very pivotal. As a police officer, we're only as good as our communities will allow us to be. And what I mean by that is they have to be able to willing to trust us and cooperate and communicate with us. And that includes with pride issues. I'm hoping that we are showing a positive future and path for many of our young folk out there who are trying to figure themselves out and what direction to go in, and maybe they come from environments that aren't very accepting, to be able to show them that, you know, as time goes on, you can and will be accepted and supported. It's a month I'm very proud of, and it's at the beginning of my career, as I say, it didn't exist for me, and now I find I have a whole month. I come in, I smile when I see the flag, I smile when people wish you happy pride in the hallways. It's interesting.
That's very good. Well, thank you very much for your service, first and foremost, and for your openness and willingness to speak with me today. Thank you again for your time, and happy Pride.
Thank you very much, Darren. Have a great day.
You too.